Hello and welcome back. I'm pretty sure I figured out what the problem was. I had it set to, I changed my bitrate because I was actually recording some desktop video offline with OBS, and I set the bitrate up really high, and when I set it back, I set it to 200 instead of 2000. So that's a pro move on my part. Good job, me. So yeah, that should look way better. Yes, you should be able to read the console text and all that good stuff. Okay, cool. All right, let's do it. Yeah, 200 kilobits per second is not 2000. That's a very meaningful difference. Well, it's weird then that because my laptop is just on the Wi-Fi here. Yeah, I mean, I guess I was just viewing a still image, so yeah. Anyway, thank you for catching that stream audience. All right, so yeah, let's jump in. What I am going to do, I've got my water this time, so. I was talking with Andrew Yoder on an online chat situation thing about, I don't know, Unreal Tournament came up and just multiplayer maps in general and etc. And it got me thinking about CTF, about Unreal Tournament in general, you know, all those multiplayer games of the late 90s. And I was like, I should go back and just walk around some of these Unreal Tournament maps. So this is sort of in the tradition of the tourism series that I've done, you know, where I played through Unreal 1 as a tourist. But I'm going to be walking around these Capture the Flag maps for the original Unreal Tournament, which came out in 1999. Yeah, and because CTF is what I played a ton of. I played a ton of it with my old coworkers who I haven't heard from in many years at Human Head Studios. This would have been my first job in the game industry. It was at Human Head Studios in Madison, Wisconsin. The year was 2000. Unreal Tournament was new and hot, and yeah, after a work day, a lot of folks did not have anything else they were doing, and so we would just play Unreal Tournament on the pretty good office internet connection and our pretty good work machines. And so yeah, we would just log on to public servers as a squad and play together, and because we were all just in different cubicles right next to one another, we had this tremendous advantage of team chat and stuff. So yeah, I wanted to do a tour of, I'm just playing in practice mode here. There are other CTF maps here that were part of bonus packs. I have all the bonus packs installed, I guess. But I'm not going to really touch on them because I'm vaguely familiar with them, but I just don't have I don't know, I would be kind of discovering everything for the first time again. So yeah, this is CTF command. I really like that, yeah, this text is tiny, but this is the last command by Elliot Misha Cannon, 6 to 8 players. For one thing, I just really love that Unreal Tournament, Unreal and Unreal Tournament just credited their level designers. One person would be, you know, basically the sole author of a level most of the time, and so you could actually just credit them, you know, and it was sort of yeah, this is this person's baby. So yeah, the first thing that's just core mechanics here is this weird little not gun looking thing called the translocator. I loved this thing, and I was a beast with it back in the day. It's basically a little beacon, and primary fire launches it, and secondary fire teleports you to the location of that beacon. You can do this while it's in air. You can do it while you're in midair. And once you get good with it, you can get anywhere with it. Anywhere that's not clipped off. Anywhere that, you know, that where they haven't consciously put up a collision wall, which is not that many places really for the designers of the original this first round of Unreal Tournament maps. So and they were clearly aware of this, of the implications of this for level design. You know, I think you only had this by default in Capture the Flag, just because they sort of realized getting around CTF maps was you know, CTF maps were bigger or something or whatever. But yeah, let me check the chat real quick here. Yeah, some other folks are sharing their favorite UT CTF maps. Yeah. Yeah, good point, Abe Litter. It is harder. It would be harder to support something like the translocator these days because the collision geometry is divergent. Like nowadays, you build like tons and tons of fancy mesh, and then you like kind of build collision into that as best you can, and just like the overall complexity of the level is such that like even here there's some messy bits here. Like just this little thing right here. Yeah, so they were doing fancy stuff with BSP. That's like the sort of constructive solid geometry style of brush building that Unreal Engine 1 was all about. So yeah, if the translocator is in a space that's too tiny for you to realistically teleport to, the beacon just never turns on. Yeah, or the beacon just like you don't teleport to it; it just recalls it to you. Yeah, so one of the translocator tricks here is some of these UT CTF maps are symmetrical, as in like the red team and the blue team's base are exactly mirrored from one another, so it's in theory like perfectly balanced, and other ones are not. They are asymmetrical, and this is one of those asymmetrical maps, which is really interesting because yeah, we're on the blue team and we're on the blue flag side now. And there's this weird, like, there's this long tunnel for the flag, and then there's this room that clearly they don't want you jumping down. You can't just run down these little things, but I can drop my beacon down there, and now I'm at the bottom of it. So the fact that little, like, I don't know what you want to call it, like sneeze guard type thing is there, shows that they were clearly aware that, like, okay, that's a translocator. We want to specifically shape how people use the translocator here. So we're going to put that there. All right, so now I'm on the red team side. I'm going to grab the red flag. There's like some little side routes here. It just takes you past like a slime mode. This is just like a completely out of the way spot. This might be a spawn point actually. But yeah. Oh yeah, that's something that is definitely worth pointing out if you're not familiar with the translocator. If I teleport with the translocator, I drop it. Because otherwise you could like, all the stuff that I've been like, I'll show you in a more open map, like how much you can abuse the translocator to like move way more quickly than you normally could. But yeah, like that was I'm sure they realized that pretty early on. Like, yeah, people translocating with the flag, it's just like, because people are just like really tough to catch when they're using the translocator. Also, yeah, like as if it wasn't overpowered enough. Let me just try to fall into my old habits here and just like use the translocator as much as I would have normally. When you're just doing this, when you're taking like all these short little hops constantly and like faking people out, I don't know if the stream is just butchering this, but like, yeah, you can basically just be like, one of those enemies in an annoying video game like BioShock, where you're fighting an enemy that's teleporting around constantly, and they're just way harder to hit. Like just tracking them, sorry, some police sirens are going past outside. Yeah, it would just make you like way harder to hit. So yeah, that was a real toughie. All right, so what I'm going to try to do here is I want to switch over to, because I remember there being, oh yeah, I'm a nollie. All right, so okay, yeah, I changed teams. Now I spawned on the red team. Now I'm going to go after the blue flag here because there was a exploit for that blue flag area. Alright, and I'm going to return the blue flag. Return the red flag, rather. Now that it's mine. Okay, so let me see if this works the way that I remember it. Oh, yes, yep, right, okay, yeah, right. Cheese in the chat reminds me of what part of my point was. As if the translocator isn't overpowered enough, you could telefrag people with it. So you would launch your beacon at them, and if you teleported like near the moment of contact, and then teleported, you would materialize anytime Unreal like had like two player collision cylinders were overlapping. It would just like jib the player who was the teleport target. So yeah, like this thing was ruthless, and you could just be like a real terror with the translocator. Yeah, it made offense very overpowered in Unreal Tournament. All other things and map logistics being equal. which tended to make matches pretty exciting, if sort of frustrating and random sometimes. Okay, so I've got the blue flag. I'm on the red team. I'm going to see if this works. Yeah, like I forget exactly how... I think there was a way to like drop it down the chute here. And yeah, if you knew what you were doing, you could... Ow. Yeah, you could definitely... Okay, so yeah, I'm at the top there. Whoops. Yeah, this is... So clearly this is fiddly, but, you know, if you know that it's an easy victory tactic, then you get good at it. I'm trying to think, like, it might have been that, like, if you leave the flag here, yeah, you'd, like, run around into the back or something. And then, okay, yeah, right, alright. And so now I have it, and I just drop down this chute. So you could get good at that, and, you know, that was a real problem for the blue team. I mean, it just meant that you kind of had to, like, guard the heck out of that area. But, yeah. Yeah, that good old Unreal Tournament capture sound. Yeah. So yeah, that was super fun. Cool. Yeah, lots of people showing up in the chat. Aubrey Hesselgren. Gauntlet in Quake 3 is similarly surprisingly powerful if you're good at strafe jumping. Same with the impact hammer in 2K4. If you could do the double dash and jump, you basically became a bullet. Yeah, no, it's true. Yeah, like anything that let you move really quickly. Yeah, Quake 3 had like the infamous, you know, sort of open-ended physics abuse mechanic where you could basically build up lots and lots of speed if you had the right space and you were good at, and you got good at bunny hopping. So yeah. Other Unreal Tournament, I don't know, we're still kind of looking at the weapons and stuff here, but yeah, you had like your starting weapon was the Enforcer, primary and secondary, different rates of fire. You could pick up a second one and double the rate. Weapon 3 was the classic goo gun, you know, which basically worked exactly as it did in the original Unreal. ASMD core makes a return, but it becomes like the combo mechanic and whatever. Yeah, this became really... Right, so... the shock combo where you'd shoot a secondary fire and then hit it again with the primary fire. Once you got good with this, you could like do it on the move, and you can see the radius on that thing just from the decal. Like it is a... This was a sort of ludicrous defensive tactic because people camping the flag with flak cannons and ASMD cores, you could just really, with the shock rifles, you could really shut people down. I think it was partly just like this is high damage and high radius. It's possible to kill yourself with a shock combo, I think. Anyway, I think that's enough time with CTF command. Let's move on to another one. Correct facility. All right. This was this was by Alan Willard, who I met a couple of times when I visited Epic for Human Head Studios as part of like an Unreal licensee seminar thing. He was kind of like I have no idea if he's still there or not. He was a sort of a hybrid artist level designer because they had several of those. So this is the flag area. It's got this little sort of cubby thing. The proportions of this do seem kind of weird to me now. Like this is a very vertically congested flag area. Like nowadays everything would be much more spread out in the X and Y axis. So yeah, you were kind of like, if you were defending the flag from that little perch there, you'd be like kind of looking down on it, you know, or you'd be like camping out back here. I don't know. Like there's lots of different ways in and out of this room. So that definitely made some stuff interesting. So yeah, this is a jump pad. Quake 3, of course, had jump pads, and they were a lot more solid and used in a lot more maps, including Q3DM17, the famous one. And yeah, I don't know if this was like Alan looking at jump pads in Q3 tests and being like, hey, we could implement a jump pad. But yeah, this is one of the very few in Unreal Tournament 99. And it's implemented with something called a trigger push. It's, yeah, like you can just sort of see like the fact that like you step onto it and then it just sort of pushes you, like, yeah, so it works in a weird and funny kind of way. But yeah, that's a jump pad. It uses, like, one thing I really like about this map is that it uses glass. There's glass floors in a few places, and you can see you know, like if you're a defender and you see there are many times you would see like the flag traveling down this hallway. It would give you situational awareness about something. Yeah, there's just this little nook back here with the armor in it. Yeah, we're still on the base side here. The melee weapon in UT99 is the impact hammer. It's like a charge up and hold, and then you melee somebody with it. And then I think this thing, yeah, I'll show you a funny trick with the with that in a second. Also, yeah, this is another situation where like normally I would be blocked by this, but if I use the translocator, I can get in here. So I'm sure there's some other way to get up in there as well. But oh yeah, speaking of which, there is impact hammer jumping. You can just like boom, right? So you just point your impact hammer at the ground while it's charging, and then you release, and you fire. That's UT's quad damage, turns you transparent and purple. Are we going the right way? Right, so everything here is like very straightforwardly color-coded. It's like blue base this way. So yeah, we go in here, we can take the low route or we can take the high route. And then I think the high route kind of bifurcates a little bit here. I think this is like a spawn area or something, and it holds the flat cannon. I gotta bring out the flat cannon just to sort of celebrate / curse it. This thing, yeah, like it shoots this shrapnel-y type stuff that just bounces around. And yeah, it is a spam weapon from hell. Like, you know, you just, and I mean, it's a danger to you as well. Like, yeah, you hit yourself with it, and all the flak bounces back on you. But yeah, it's a real beast. The flak only stays hot for a second or two, but that's usually enough. Like in a tight area, you could just fill it. You could just fill up the room with it. And then the secondary is also a pretty effective spam thing. Like it just launches a mortar shell that explodes with flak chunks. So yeah, that's the flak cannon is rough stuff. That was UT definitely had a deserved reputation for being a very spammy game compared to Quake 3. Yeah, just they didn't. And also, yeah, okay. And now let's pull out the Razor Jack, which launches these deadly discs that bounce around. So again, it's like anything that bounces, like, yeah, like, and you know, it's sort of balanced in that sense of, you know, like it can hurt you as well, but you know, it's still like way spammy. Oh yeah, somebody says, if you wait till you install the excessive mutator if you think vanilla is spammy. So yeah, I'm sure that, you know, a lot of people just like completely embraced that and loved the spam. So yeah, that's basically, I've kind of run a circuit now. Like there's a couple of routes, like it's pretty much these linear paths to either end of the map. There's a few little places where you can cross over between the high route and the low route. You know, very linear and not like a lot of side spaces to creep around in or get lost in. So very economical map. Matches tended to be very fast-paced here, you know. Yeah, and then and you had like this long hallway. Definitely not much of a sniping map, as you can see. Oh yeah, right. Okay, and so we're going through the weapons. This was the 8-ball gun, I guess, or it's basically the rocket launcher. You could launch one rocket, or you could hold down the button and charge up to 6 of them, which is down from 8 in the original Unreal, where it was called the 8-ball. And then the secondary fire was like this sort of weirdly bouncy grenade thing. It's like a pill or something. It was just weird. Yeah, and then also the particles are like subtractive blend, so they would only darken the world around them. I don't know. Yeah. So, but yeah, spam weapon. Yet another one. Okay, I think that's enough for Corette. Yeah, Corette, I believe, was the map that came with the original demo, and it was in like pretty heavy regular rotation. The server that we played on, yeah, I didn't really play this one that much, even though I think it was included with vanilla UT99. Dargy Outpost I played a little bit, but this was for a larger player count, like 8 to 16 players, which typically was the case on the servers that we would play on. I should mention, like, the servers. There was a pub server that we played on, that we became regulars on after a while, called Kane's Lair CTF. So man, if anybody out there is like watching this on YouTube someday and played on Kane's Lair, word up. It, like, around in 2000 2001 maybe. Then howdy, we probably fragged each other and all that. But yeah, that's a blast from the past. So yeah, this is the pulse rifle weapon. This one got a lot better in later versions of UT, like 2K3 and 4. This just shoots little magic balls, and then this is basically like a Quake 1 lightning gun. There was sort of a weird quirk of the way that this thing worked, where it would send out points. This thing, like, it's a limited trace, like, it doesn't reach all the way across the level. It has a limited range, and so it was doing this, like, trace, this line probe sort of thing, but it would subdivide that for different checks. And at each point, it was, I think when there was something about the way the code for it worked, such that, like, if you knew how to use this correctly, you could sort of, like, move your beam while you were fighting somebody. You could move your beam like back and forth like a saw, kind of, and take players across the threshold between different segments of that line probe, and that would actually deal more damage to them per second than if you were just hitting them with the normal, kind of, point and shoot. So yeah, that's the pulse rifle. I don't know if they fixed that in later versions or what, but yeah. So yeah, big old base, big open courtyardy kind of thing. I'm not super familiar with this map layout. Yeah, like, I think either it came around later, or we were only, like, playing bigger matches like this later. But yeah, it's got this little sort of thing you can launch your translocator up and over. Yeah, and you can get up here. Just look at the skybox. Yeah. Yeah, just go explore. Up. I don't know. Oh, incinerated. Okay, so probably that's probably a partial piecemeal sort of level designer fix there for troublesome translocator usage. I don't know. Yeah, like, I don't have that many memories of this map, so. But yeah. Also, yeah, like, these little platforms are, like, kind of narrow, so, like, I imagine there was a lot of, like, really messy fighting here. Like this thing, I mean, this ramp really just exists to go up and get the rocket launcher, but yeah. That's right, and then it had a whole basement. A lot of these maps have a basement, just the basement route. And so yeah, like, when we were talking, when we were, we'd be playing and just talking to each other over cubicle walls, and so we could coordinate. We could be like, I'm going low, and that would mean I have the flag, and I'm, heading down the lower route, and teammates could move and meet up with me. And so we would always, like, our opponents would kind of always be meeting us, at a numerical disadvantage. So cheat codes. All right, let's move on. New map. CTF Dreary. Yeah, this was a vanilla map. And yeah, by Shane Caudle, he was a very prolific, like, artist level designer. Cool, yeah, like Unreal 1 maps definitely had, like, the cool skyboxes, little rain effect going on out here. I think it's just a couple of quads with a little panning texture on it, but it looks nice. Totally conveys that dreary atmosphere. I don't know if this is, like, on a rain planet or whatever, just cool. So yeah, this is the flag room. Just a weird sort of hub shape, and there's just a slime pool. These little ramps above a slime pool. And then you had, like, what? Oh, okay, weird. There's, like, a little collision lip here. I'm not going to be able to... Okay, yeah, you could totally, like, go the high route. Because of a weird little collision lip there. Take the middle here, the shield belt. That's right, there's this very narrow, I mean, if you run into anybody coming along here, you better have superior firepower, because, yeah, it'll get messy. Yeah. Right, and then, And there's this lower route. Man, just you play all these old Unreal Engine maps, and or just this era of FPS level design, and there's just a billion variation on the hallway from Alien. You know, like that sci-fi hallway with the 45-degree kind of angles, and then like, you know, like judicious or over the top, like greeble light fixtures, rivets. Like, you know, I'm sure if he had the poly count or texture whatever for it, you know, would have put like some wires and stuff in there just to make it all hyper detailed and stuff. But yeah, I mean, this was like a fairly fancy bit of BSP work right here. Like, this is sort of more hyper detailed than you would usually see. But yeah, and then, you know, like these details are more subtle, but they're kind of nice. You know, it's like a banked thing, but then it curves. Doing texture alignment on this was not easy. You know, you just had to like manually just pan those textures around, just get them all lined up and looking good. But yeah, this is a solidly made map. Oh yeah, there's an Unreal UT has a minigun. Primary fire is shoot bullets. Secondary fire is shoot more bullets quickly, but less accurately. Yeah, and I think that's about it for Dreary Outpost. Oh yeah, there's a little outdoor area here. Oh yeah, with the cool, yeah, with the little procedural fire texture, water puddle shader thing. Yeah. So yeah, I also like that, like this map is considered like, oh, it's dreary, but it still has more color, more like wild colors in it than like a bunch of, you know, than a lot of maps, multiplayer maps you would see nowadays. All right, Epic Boy. This was definitely part of a bonus pack. This might have been the last bonus pack. So I have very little familiarity with it. I think this is using some of the Gothic texture set that Shane Caudle made for DM Gothic, which I believe shipped with Unreal Tournament, but maybe not in enough time for a lot of the mappers to use it. But yeah, it's very pretty and super detailed. Warren Marshall was / is, I don't know. He was basically the Unreal Ed programmer, and just also designed maps. That was the Redeemer, by the way. Yeah, just screw you, super weapon. You launch it. But yeah, nice big like open courtyard sort of thing, like nice little Gothic arches and stuff. Yeah, it's cool. Good skybox. Got some Unreal birds up in the sky. Yeah, I mean, I think this map probably came out around the time that I was playing less. Oh man, flying buttresses. Executing that in Unreal brushes would not have been easy. So my hat's off to up. Oh gosh, yeah, I forgot about these textures. Right, so there's Boob Angel, stained glass, because I guess, I don't know, that's sort of, yeah, we're just gonna not think about that. Yeah, so the secondary fire of the Redeemer, super fun. It's just a pilotable missile, and yeah, so you can be a real jerk with that thing. Yeah, I think that's about all I've got for this map. I just don't really remember much about it. Eternal Cave by Juan Pancho Eccles. Yeah, this was okay. There's a little BSP pickaxe. The only other thing I remember about the Redeemer is that I saw some people with some people would play with mouse and keyboard, but they would also have a joystick by their side for specifically when they launched the Redeemer, so that they could use like the flight controls and control the Redeemer a little better. So yeah, that's hilarious. Eternal Caves, right? So like natural, organic, terrainy kind of map. Asymmetrical too. Like this is the red flag area, and it's like this precarious frickin' thing over a very tall lava pit with some fog down in it. Oh, let's get a closer look at that. And then yeah, we're like in these clearly Nolly-ish ruins. Nolly being the sort of kind of pseudo-tribal kind of four-armed alien people from Unreal 1 single player. And yeah, like there's a whole bunch of like, right, there's this kind of two-tiered middle area with like just mossy ruins and stuff. I do like this texture, and yeah, I think they use some of the little cards, the little flat sheets for cobwebs and vines and stuff, so that's nice. Alright, is this the blue flag area? Yes, it is. It's just a nice fire texture thing, you know? Just put it on a card, two quads, like just go in like that, and it has a nice volumetric appearance for like basically 2 polygons. Super nice. And so yeah, blue's flag is like at the far end of this plank kind of thing over an equally scary pit of lava. So yeah, that's again like a big... I don't know, like I don't play nearly as many multiplayer games and basically nowadays basically no multiplayer FPS. So yeah, like that kind of asymmetry in the flag areas seems really bold. Yeah. This was just really... I remember getting hung up on this before. Yeah, it's just like this little notch, and you just had to mind that. Don't stub your toe on it. Yeah. I'm just gonna catch up on the chat here. Yeah. Yep. Eternal Cave was spammy, I remember. Yeah, because like while the flag areas are kind of open, there were just like these real pinch points, and like it takes so little to just knock somebody off of one of these narrow platforms. So yeah, that's a... Yeah, blue had the D advantage. I can believe it. Yeah, because yeah, I mean, there's 2 ways into this effectively. Like I was able to, I mean, especially with the translocator. Also, I was able to do the double tap Unreal dodge move and get to the red flag that way. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, that's Eternal Cave, and didn't play this one as much. I think, you know, people were feeling the imbalance. So, all right, now we come to CTF Face. This is, if you've played any Unreal Tournament 1 CTF at all, this would be the one, right? Because yeah, it's kind of weird that this became the most played. This was basically like the DE Dust of Unreal Tournament CTF. Like people there were servers that would only play this. You know, like a lot of people, this is just what they prefer to do with CTF. So yeah, it is perfectly symmetrical as far as I know. And the base interiors are like, you know, you walk in and there's the flag, and you know, this is it, and it's kind of tiny except for these teleporters. This teleporter takes me up to a middle deck here. And then there's another middle deck higher up that's like just really a very straightforward sniper nest. And then has a little teleporter to the roof. And you can basically just park your butt on the roof and do sniping that way. So, yeah, and then in the middle... there is just a vast no man's land where you were completely at the mercy. You know, like people who are crossing the map are doing all this ground fighting and stuff. Very open. I mean, this at least, I think this hump is definitely like a key part of it, because, you know, like I'm reasonably protected. I'm protected from people who aren't on the upper deck and the roof here. And then, you know, as I come down and around, I'm more exposed again. So I think that hump, you know, was like pretty necessary. It also makes it a very weird feature to fight on, you know, because if I'm standing level and I'm fighting somebody up here, that's another thing that I just don't see that much in modern multiplayer level design, is like you're fighting on this weird embankment, and just, I don't know, like, yeah, it throws off a lot of your sort of sense of like, you know, where people are and how to target shots and how to do the usual like splash damage to the ground and stuff. Okay, so yeah, so CTF Face. Also, I mean, yeah, worth mentioning, it has a cool rotating skybox. I think basically they, you know, in Unreal, skyboxes are their own little separate scene that you build, and then you put a little object in the middle that forms the camera for the skybox that sky tagged surfaces render into from the main map. And yeah, they just coded up a special version of that would rotate every frame. And so yeah, you could have a rotating sky zone. And yeah, I'm sure that some people found that very vertigo-inducing. Yes, and also the track that's playing is Foregone Destruction, which is like probably the most classic like Unreal Tournament map track by, I think, Alexander Brandon. maybe not. I hope, yeah, somebody correct me in the chat if I'm getting that wrong. So yeah, so more translocator foolishness. This is a fun thing. The translocator is just a normal like Unreal object that is affected by usual Unreal physics stuff, and you can hold on, let me check my phone here and make sure people are messaging me. Okay, cool. So yeah, so what this meant is that you could do something called impact launching. I don't know how widely used a term that was, but basically I charge up my impact hammer, and then I let it go, and it launches that little beacon all the way across the map. Okay, and that time it bounced off the front of the base and landed on the ground in front of the base, which is still pretty useful if you're, if you're doing that from the roof of your own base. So let me try that again, because the really pro move is if you can thread it. Nope. I'm going to try it one more time, and then you'll just have to take my word for it that it's possible and that I did it hundreds of times. Doink. Come on, big money. All right. Anyway, you could basically get it between. I don't have that. Yeah, you could basically get it between the bars of this little sniper jail thingy, and then you would just like have like a back way, no less, into the enemy base. So yeah, so that would allow you to cross that no man's land very expediently. I mean, you were still vulnerable to snipers while you were doing this, so you would get good at doing it quickly and while dodging. So I'd be charging up my impact hammer while kind of like strafing back and forth, and then, boom, and then, so just the weird like emergent tactics that came out of the fact that the translocator existed and was affected by physics impulses was so great. All right, yeah, and so I actually managed to get it, and so I was able to teleport all the way across the map. Oh yeah, another thing that's worth noting about the translocator is that this beacon has a damage amount, and if it gets killed, yeah, I don't know. Okay, so maybe friendly fire is off. If an enemy player disrupted it, if you weren't in eye contact with and you tried to teleport to a disrupted beacon, then you would just die. You would just die instantly. Like you would get lost in the warp or whatever. Yeah, and so that was a gamble if you left your beacon. Like, it was a very standard tactic to just kind of like leave. Oh yeah, this was a classic move. You would right, you could leave your beacon in a spot where, like, that beacon is very well camouflaged if you don't know to look for it, because those candles are like already kind of additively brightening up the pixels, and the translocator beacon is doing the exact same thing. So yeah, that was pretty yeah. But yeah, so like you were taking a gamble every time you teleported to a beacon that you had left sitting somewhere for a while, that an enemy hadn't found it and disrupted it. So yeah, so that's a lot of old CTF face. The other hilarious thing that we did, coordinating over cubicle walls at Human Head, was we'd go into the enemy base, and one player would grab the flag, and the other player would be following close behind, and the player with the flag would go up to the roof. Both of them would go up to the roof, and the player without the flag would charge up a ton of... This only worked on servers without friendly fire, with friendly fire turned off. But one player would get the rocket launcher, and they would charge up a full 6 rockets and launch them right at the feet of the player with the flag, and that would usually propel them most or all of the way across the map with the flag, thus getting around the need for a translocator to get all the way across the map. And there were times when, like, we would capture the flag, go up to the roof, do the goofy impact launch thing to get all the way across the map, and then do that trick, do the launch from the roof trick, where we'd say, like, I'm on the roof, launch me, or whatever, and we would capture in, like, under 10 seconds or something. It was just absurd. And people on this Cain's Lair server would think like we were cheating or something, and I mean, we were using, like, we were exploiting these weird tactics, but it wasn't a wall hack or anything, and it was definitely easily defeated by a knowledgeable enemy team. Like, if you knew that that's what they were doing, And I mean, usually, like, on a reasonably populated server, there would always be, people just chill, like snipers, defensive snipers, just chilling up here. So if somebody comes down, if somebody's doing that, then yeah, it gets a little more, so people cottoned to that. If I remember correctly, when we started getting that routine down, people would cotton to it and then like counter us pretty easily. The big equalizer there, like the way that you would steamroll past that, is that one person, like if one person can grab the Redeemer from your base, then you can basically clear out kind of your choice. You can basically, like, you shoot this thing in here, and it's like, okay, everybody who's within line of sight of that Redeemer explosion gets nuked. And if you got the Redeemer in just right, you could kind of like thread it in through, if you kind of threaded it in like this, then you could take out anybody who was like sitting around the flag, so yeah, so that was sort of the next evolution of like the offensive and defensive weird tactics, is just like, just soften up the base, basically, like, wipe out everybody who's like on flag duty, and then run in and try to do something really goofy with the flag carrying. So yeah, so that is the wild time that we had in CTF Face. I don't know. Yeah, it was good times. I mean, also we weren't always doing that goofy exploity sort of stuff. A lot of times it's like, yeah, the enemy team, it's either too chaotic because there's 16 people on each team or whatever, or just they're able to shut down your tactics, and you have to play more normal. You just have to be good at the video game. And that, and it's still a fun, if just exotic and weird map in that regard. So yeah, you could teleport up onto these candles, and it made you kind of a prime target for snipers across the way, but it was also kind of good if you were just like camping the enemy base. You could just like give people coming out of this teleporter a hell of a time. Let's see, there was also a thing, I don't know if I have anything bound to it, but just checking the chat here. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, oh, that's right, there's the taunts. VHLJK, okay, yeah, and then, what am I thinking of here? Not Toss Relic, but just, I must be remembering this correctly. Okay, Throw Weapon. Throw Weapon was semicolon. Does that work? No, maybe not. What? Uh-oh. What's happening? What's happening? I can't... Alright, I don't know what's going on there. Let me rebind that, because it wasn't working for some reason. I don't know, just T. I don't need to like talk to anybody in multiplayer. Are my controls just kind of like permanently hosed now? What's up? Just like couldn't stop looking at the ground. Okay, we're good. Alright, will this work? Yes, okay, so you could throw weapons. Let me pick up a few weapons here because it requires a few weapons to demonstrate. So one thing you could do with throwing weapons here is you could just look straight up in the air and throw your weapons and basically juggle. So like that's beautiful. Like so weird. And you could juggle with other players as well. So like if you were facing another player and standing a distance from them, you could basically do like, tossing, like trading clubs or whatever, whatever you would do with real juggling. And so what we would do sometimes, like I remember one time we were just like routing the enemy team. And we were like, okay, let's take it easy on them. So we went up to the roof of their base, and each of us got on one of these candles, and we just juggled our weapons back and forth. Yeah, and then they showed up and saw us doing that, and I don't know, it was hilarious. Yeah. So and yeah, I think the only other thing about throw weapon here is that you could, if somebody had auto switch weapons, then you could throw a weak weapon at them, like at them. Yeah, I forget how that worked actually. Maybe I'm thinking, no, actually you would take a strong weapon and then throw it at them, and they would auto pick it up, and then like they would, I mean, first of all, they might be disoriented. Also, they would switch weapons. So like, and switching weapons does have a little time cost here. So that was like, that was a pretty good, I mean, you would be losing your weapon as well, but, a lot of times you could come back with something better or something. So yeah, that was a weird, like, tactic that just came from, well, weapons are pickups, and I'm trying to think what else. Oh yeah, there is a third-person camera behind view 1, is it? Cool, yeah. Yeah, I'm the Nolly dude who meditates when he... so yeah, you've got the double tap dodge jump move. Always fun. Right, so I forget what... Oh yeah, I was going to show off the taunts here. So I guess that's like a... Right, that's like the cower thing. That's some kind of thing. Okay, so these are like Nolly specific. Yeah, because I guess Nolly were on a separate rig. Let me change to like a normal human thing. Sure, I'll be a female commando. Aphex. Well, I approve of the name, but these are all going to be just goofy. I don't know how to... Yeah. There we go. Alright, am I... No, okay, I don't know how I... Yeah, this isn't that important. It's not that important to... Alright, cool. Cool, Blake. Does that help me? Am I actually changed, or... Do I have to actually reload the video game? Okay, yeah, now I'm Blake. So yeah, what were the amazing pelvic thrust, yes, right. Yep, the pelvic thrust, fist pump, that sort of football cheer thing, and then the wave. Oh, that's right, and if you dodged forward, you would, yeah, you'd do a little flip. Yeah, yeah, the only other thing about this hilarious thing is... yeah, you can hit F and feign death, which was very rarely successful. But yeah, if you wanted to like blend in and just sort of look like somebody who had been killed, I think it was just way easier to spot than say feigning death in Team Fortress Classic. But yeah. So anyway, that's all right. I think that's about it for CTF Face. But yeah, man, this map still getting played today. Like if we open up UT servers, capture the flag, I guarantee you there will be CTF Face. Yeah, Facing Worlds, just all those servers. Anyway, so yeah, that's cool. Yeah, CTF Face SE, which I can't remember if there are any tweaks in that. Like it's very small and sort of for competitive play, I think. There was CTF Face 2, which came out with a bonus pack, but I don't really remember it at all. It seems cool. It seems like it's basically the same formula, more open. Like there's kind of these metal girders and like these decks with little windows cut into them. It makes the sniping a little more intentional and discreet. I always like this teleporter effect. But yeah, I don't remember it this well. But yeah. Oh yes, and this and CTF Face were made by Cedric Enox Fiorentino. So yeah, this is definitely his most well-known map. All right, CTF Gauntlet by Cliff Blazinski. I don't know if I've actually heard of that guy. Might have been an intern or something. But yeah, right. That's right. Yeah, this map layout is like very straightforward and simple. It's got this high route of like these little walkways and stuff here. And yeah, there's like, right, so there's just a little upper level, and then you get into the flag room. Yeah, that's right, there's a little respawn room, and then just these little areas. And then there's a teleporter, and where does that take you? Oh, that's right, it takes you, yeah, outside and on the lower level. And on the lower level, there's a little balance beam with the shield belt going across the lava. And yeah, you don't want to really go in that lava. So yeah, also yeah, so like these areas were dark, and like we would frequently use these to hide. This map wasn't in the rotation quite as much, but yeah, like pretty good hiding spot. Possibly no flak cannon in this. Yeah, I think this is more. Nope, I spoke too soon. And this is almost certainly like a player spawn area, so like red team folks would spawn in there and run out into the middle. Yeah, so yeah, like pretty straightforward map. Just high and low route, symmetrical. Yeah, and we didn't play this a whole lot. I do remember getting up here though, just like there's no collision on. I mean, this is just like that's just the sky right there. Oh, and there's the you can get a glimpse of the default Unreal 1 and 2 texture. Just that people called it spoiled milk a lot. But yeah, that texture. Apparently, it was from. It is a digitized photo of cave pearls from a nature and like caves book that Alan Willard had on his desk. So I saw the original source for that. I think they brought back a higher res version of that texture for Unreal 4 or something. Anyway, you could just get up in this window and just like be chilling out. Like this isn't very advantageous, you know, for killing people, but you know, you could get up to some mischief up here. So yeah, that's just another weird little hilarious broken thing that made it into the video game. And yeah, like, so a recurring theme here is like a lot of these maps did have like fairly serious broken things about them. And I really loved that. Like, you know, nowadays multiplayer games, like a lot of them are very competitive focused, and they have this very strong commitment to design quality, and like that really increases their longevity and sort of like how well they hold up as games of skill and stuff. But like, you know, we were just looking to unwind after a long work day of just losing our minds working on video games at Human Head. I don't know, like the fact that this game was like broken and weird and exploitable, and you had like gimmick maps like this. Yeah, this is Hall of Giants by Poncho Equals, which I hardly played at all. I think maybe people hated playing this because it was a low grav weird thing. But yeah, it was low grav. Your translocator would go hecka far, and it also had like these little warp tubes, and you would jump up into them. Whoa! And then you would be like flung into space with really high velocity. So this was a cool way to. This actually gave like making a run at the enemy flag a very Tribes-like proposition, where you'd be like flying in and you'd be like shooting rockets down and stuff like that. Yeah, it was really cool, and I think I made a low grav map at some point just because I was interested in the design possibilities of it. And yeah, it's using like the Scarge alien mothership textures. But yeah, huge distances, just real big distances. So yeah, yeah, barely played that one. CTF High, that was another bonus pack one, and I don't remember it at all. Hydra 16. Sydney Clawfish Rauschberger. Don't really know anything about that person. So yeah, this was another like higher player count map, symmetrical. Like both players have a flag room that looks like this. It's got a little grating upper deck here. Also, yeah, it has this just like this sort of like pipe rafters that has fog in it. And there's a shield belt up here. So like, you know, like this was sort of a, like defenders didn't necessarily want to hang out here. This actually was really useful for when you were raiding an enemy base. You would come up here, like if you got here before some of your teammates did, you would come here and just sort of like chill out, you know, and then once your buddy showed up in force, you know, you could grab the flag and run off with it and have a better chance of making it out. Yeah, this little S-curve hallway with just a upper battlement sort of things that I guess are good for defenders. Yeah. Yeah, middle area, I guess just like a really standard sniper deck, looking out on 2 bridges across a slime moat. I mean, this is kind of like, this is a little bit 2 fort-like, just, you know, stretched out a bunch. You definitely just die if you go in here, I believe, right? Yeah. But yeah, so, you know, these big distances made the translocator, good translocator usage pretty key. There's a lot of enjoyment in just like threading the translocator like through, you know, just like making that shot, you know, like the fact that it is like this indirect fire kind of, you know, thing that you would lob. That felt super good. I don't know, like on the one hand the translocator is like this BS like overpowered thing. On the other hand, there was like you could build up real skills using it. And I don't know, again, I like that about it. I feel like it's a very quintessentially Unreal Tournament thing in that regard. Okay, so yeah, that's Hydra 16. Didn't play a ton of that one, but had some good tense matches in it. That's a bonus pack one. I don't remember that one. I feel like they might have like that might be one of the ones they're remaking for UT4. All right, yeah, let's go to Lava Giant. I loved this map. It was for pretty large player counts. You know, you could cram up to 32 people, assuming that you had the server bandwidth for it. You could cram up to 32 people on here, and it's asymmetrical. The base layouts are different. Red has like this kind of little single flag enclosure thing, and you have to go in and around. You can translocate in through the bars, etc. Same kind of battlements, but yeah. Right, so this is another place. This is where I learned to impact jump, impact whatever you call it. You know, I might not be doing it correctly here, but basically, you get somewhere up high, you put down your beacon, and then you do that, and hopefully, okay, yeah. So that wasn't actually that great, but yeah, and it was tough to do this on these pyramidal roofs, but you got good at it. I'm such an old man, uphill both ways in the snow, sort of with this stuff. Not that this was hard, even. Like, these weren't particularly difficult tactics to take advantage of. All right, there we go. So yeah, you would just jump up onto the top of the cruddy BSP, the sort of like uneven, sticky BSP up on the top of this map, and then you would have like a good view into like, well, you'd have a good view into a BSP area. Oh, crap. Yeah. But yeah, you would have like run of the map basically, and you wouldn't have to bother with all these lower paths that involve like, you know, just taking all these like pathways and just, you know, like a normal human. So yeah, Blue's base is pretty radically different. It's got these little enclosed hutches with windows, just a full wall here, but then its flag is more exposed. So that's kind of interesting. Yeah, and they might have even had different weapons inside each base. So just really asymmetrical. And yeah, it's interesting. Oh, right, and there was this whole... How would you get up here? Like, forget, was this... If you went down here, were you were just stuck walking back up or something? Or yeah, this was generally like, you didn't generally want to be here, you know, on these lower levels, because A, you were that much closer to the lava. It was easy to fall in if somebody was spamming you with a splash damage weapon. Okay, and that's a ramp that goes back up to the base. Yeah, just this whole situation. Really steep ramp up here. Yeah, that's right. That takes you up there. You can see where that path goes. There was a. All right, I'm doing the high risk. Up. didn't make it. Yeah, and there's like a middle path here that has the Redeemer, I believe. No, that's the shield belt. Anyway. But yeah, I think it was also possible, like it was difficult but possible. Like if you launch your beacon at the very height, okay, well, and of course, yeah. It's also like you can kill yourself with the translocator pretty trivially just by launching straight up, because you're accumulating downward Z velocity the whole time that you're falling. Like translocating doesn't reset that. So, you know, that was a good like natural balancing kind of thing. Yeah. Hold on, I think there's some chat going on here. Is this the no, maybe not. Actually, I'm just gonna ghost here because I want to confirm my memory of it. Okay, that's right. Yeah. That's right. The far north route basically would have this, just a little sort of Banjo-Kazooie up, and you'd fall in the lava. But you wanted that Redeemer because it was a big open map. Yeah, I totally agree. Cheese and Danny, like, yeah, I do love the sounds in this game are, I mean, they're etched very deeply into my brain. But I do think, like, yeah, there's some legit, like, very cool, interesting sound work. You know, like they made some weird choices for, like, when you pick up the quad damage, like it's this weird, I don't know, it almost sounds like a physical machine or something turning on, and like, I don't know, like the shield belt and the vials, like it's this weird mix of meta versus completely magical versus grounded, and like these ammo kind of noises, you know. Oh yeah, and then the jump boots. This is one of the few maps where the jump boots were useful. Yeah, you were limited to 3 jumps. It was just, yeah. There's a lot of things that are like kind of annoying about UT. Like just the fact that, yeah, like they had to balance the jump boots somehow. And so it's like, okay, you get 3 jumps max, but also maybe they just time out if you don't use them in enough time, so you can't just like hoard them. Anyway, yeah. Yeah, that's another good point. Yeah, secrets give such an advantage to experienced players, but it's also so great. Yeah, I mean, you know, they were still, multiplayer FPSs were still very much like a by and for the hardcore in the late 90s. So yeah, that was just, you know, there was just all kinds of stuff like that, and I think those, you know, it was a valid way of exploring nuances of design, but in a way that like people would be very gun shy about nowadays, where things have to be, you know, you really worry about your new user experience and all that kind of stuff. All right, so yes, I believe the jump boots do prevent you from taking fall damage, which is like very valuable in this map. So I think, yeah, probably one of the most justified uses of them. Okay, cool. Let's go to yeah. So I knew this was going to come up in the rotation. This is an unreleased, unfinished CTF map that I made while I was at Human Head and basically learning Unreal Engine. Like we shipped my very first project. Blair Witch Volume 2, The Legend of Coffin Rock. So look that one up on eBay sometime. And then, yeah, we were like, okay, well, we're going to make a multiplayer expansion for Rune. Do you want to work on it, JP? And I was like, oh, yeah, I've been itching to like, you know, make some Unreal Engine stuff. Unreal Engine is the coolest. So yeah, I made, and because I was playing a bunch of CTF with my coworkers, I made this map. So yeah, we're looking at the ugly half of it first. Basically, this is a, I think this was symmetrical, although I themed it really differently. So the whole high concept for this map, also, yeah, like it's unreleased partly because I started running into these BSP errors that I could not fix. Like, yeah, I was getting fancy with like this natural terrain sort of stuff. Yeah, like all this sort of organic, cavey kind of non-grid. It was grid aligned, but it was like, you know, non-orthogonal. And yeah, I just started getting errors, you know, like little little catchy spots, little slivers and stuff, and it just, yeah, like, also I got busy, you know, like working on Rune Halls of Valhalla. So anyway, yeah, so this is the blue team's base, which is way better looking than the red team's base. And it's using Shane Caudle's Gothic texture set. I was doing some BSP cutout work to fit some of the texturing details, because I was all about that, and I guess I did some like vaulted ceilings. So man, this must have been a real pain to just get all those verts on grid and in the right place and stuff. Actually, this is like, this has a mood, it's like colored lighting, I used like this little carpet thing for trim. This isn't bad. I used the I was a nice boy, so I used the cool, like, kind of Muka inspired stained glass instead of the boob angel stained glass. So, hi mom. And I had like a nice little skybox outside with like a moon and unreal stars. I guess these were just decorations. Yeah, anyway. I think I also had like, I would dole out ammo in like these little heterogeneous bunches, which was sort of non-standard. This was just a straight up healing chamber. I guess I just wanted to implement a little healing chamber just to see if I could or something. I don't know. And that's actually cool. Like putting that fire texture behind there. So yeah, this wasn't bad. Shield belt down here. This layout, I feel like the base layout part of this map was not bad. I think where it really got lost is in this middle area. And I think the concept for this was okay, but it was way too cramped. Like, it's very bunched up here. Like, you end up like climbing up this very steep angle for the bridge, whereas it should have just been flat. And then like you climb up a really sharp angle here to get into this little tiny thing. Like, if this had been bigger, then it could have just been an actual fighting area. I probably could have just like simplified all this a lot. Oh yeah, I see what I was doing. Right, so there's a lava fall up here, and I guess there's like a little, yeah, right. So there's a little promontory with the whoa. Oh yeah, right. The BSP errors were like real bad here. Oh, that's right. There was a hole, right? So you could get to this from either team's base. So you'd climb up through this like very off the beaten path kind of tunnel, and then you'd be up here and you'd have the damage amp, and also you could like do some sniping and whatever. But yeah, the idea is like, okay, lava fall, and then it's like pouring down into this lava river here, and then like this thing was like pumping it up and out. So yeah, it was some sort of cool thing, I was almost, man, I'll bet I was like subconsciously influenced by the big Atlantean machine from Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis. I'll dig that up and like post it on Twitter or something. That was, yeah, I don't know. That was probably in the back of my mind. Anyway, so yeah, like the high concept for this map was like magic versus technology, or like medieval versus futuristic, because those aesthetics were like there in Unreal. So like this is the medieval Gothic stonework kind of half of the map, and then the half of the map that I didn't really finish, except for this one little bit, was like the techno future base kind of thing. And yeah, this is a little bit like I was starting to detail this stuff here, like, yeah, and I was like, I put these cuts into the floor and had like magma, like lava channel-y type stuff. So this was cool, this was like neat. And then this is what the red flag room looks like. So like same layout, but yeah. That just leads down to the caves. Yep, and it had rafters, little sniper rafters. Also very vertically congested. I mean, kind of reasonably so. But yeah, like, defenders would have just been like sitting up here with their backs to the wall. And then yeah, there was like this little yeah, I guess because I wanted like some more sniper play, I like cut this little this little deck up here. Cool. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Cheese says, let me no clip a bit. Yeah. Let me do that. I don't know if the map is still going to render properly here, but and actually, let me use my amazing knowledge of Unreal Engine here. Yeah. So you can. Yeah. Okay. So you can kind of see what's going on here. Yeah, just symmetrical. Although, like, yeah, flipped, yeah, you know, symmetrical about a particular axis. Yeah, so, right, you can see just that weird, and actually it looks like there is kind of a difference with the, right, with the weird little tunnel. I think one thing I was influenced by for this weird-ass tunnel here, one thing I was influenced by was, the game that I played a lot of multiplayer before this was Team Fortress Classic. I love that game, and I don't know, for some reason, like, I feel like there was one map called I think it was called Well, and yeah, it had like these courtyards, but then like this whole underground route that very much felt like this, where you were like kind of, and it was relatively underutilized on a lot of servers. So it was just this weird, like, alternate route that you could kind of sneak in. I don't know, and that I think I probably subconsciously realized that that was kind of cool to have sometimes, is like a way less taken route that you still kind of have to watch, but I don't know, actually, yeah, and I'm also not up on my modern multiplayer design, so maybe there's just quantifiably bad things about that. Alright, cool, so yeah, that's the CTF map that I'm never going to finish, probably. But yeah, thank you for revisiting that with me. Yeah, CTF Niven. This was a vanilla map. Very small. Had like this S-curve hallway leading to the flag room, which was very small. And yeah, a lot of your fighting would happen in these run up to the thing flags, and then there's a whole water area. And then I believe, yeah, you would come in. That was a nice thing about this. Yeah, you would go in. You would come up on the low side on one side of the map, and then come out on the high side. So you know, it was this nice, like, you know, Mobius strip kind of thing. Cool. Yeah. So pretty simple. Yeah, played this a fair amount. I think those are meshes. Pretty sure those are just like. One of the few instances of like using meshes instead of BSP. Is that like a... Oh, so you couldn't even like... Right, so this wasn't even like a route per se. It was just like a water area that you didn't want to be in, basically. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't have too many awesome memories of this. I mean, this was just like a spam hallway, you know, so... But yeah, CTF November. This one's a classic. Cool. This is another like very strikingly asymmetric map. So, right. So we're in the red map here. We're in the red base here. Also, just like basically the entire base layouts were different. So red is like there's this giant pool of water, and the flag is down at the end of a long pipe. And getting into this is just like, you know, you have to clear everything out before you can really get through there and grab that flag. Yeah, and it had these rafters that you could get in. I think this was a little spawn area. The water was enough to like slow you down, but you couldn't really, you know, I think actually you could kind of hide in here. Oh, that's right, yeah, because I remember like getting under here. Yeah, you could get under these little docks. Am I remembering this right? I definitely remember hiding out under this water, and sometimes that would work, and you could just be a real jerk about it. Alright, and so then there's like a whole big crate feature here. You get your health keg. That's the Kego health. It's delicious. Yeah, and then just like a really tall sort of thing. So you could definitely, this was a good bet for getting into the red flag area if you were attacking. Yeah, just weird vertical stacks. I mean, they were definitely like aware of, oh yeah, this was also a really good vantage. You could just sit up here, just be a real jerk to people coming through. Yeah, and there's like this turret, this sort of bunker feature. You could translocate in through that, you know. You could just sit here and like minigun people. I telefragged so many people who were just like parked there, just like doop, And you've telefragged them, and now you have a minigun. Ho ho ho. So yeah, and then in the middle is the titular, well, I guess, you know, it's referencing Hunt for Red October, but it's November or something, I don't know. Har har. Weird little off to the side place. I think there was a damage amp up here. Yeah. Then on the blue side, you had this turret. Yep. Just this little feature. And then, yeah, just, yeah, like a whole little back way. I mean, this feels like, this is almost like the sort of touch you would put into a single-player map just because it felt right. But yeah, just alt little route. Getting up and down these ramps, like there was a lot of very fierce fighting. Like, this is a big enough surface, you know, like this is a wide enough platform that you can actually you can really fight on it. So yeah, there was a lot of very bitter fighting over the submarine itself, which was cool. Oh, that's right, yeah. There's this whole little spot back here, under-detailed and kind of out of the way. Okay, yeah, and then you would come in. That's right, yeah, and that's the turret. You'd come in, and there was a big chute up there, which you could get up if your aim was true. And now you're up here, so you could get in that way. Or you could go up the stairs, like a normal jerk. Again, there was this little deck up here. Shield belt, this was very good to... Yeah, this was, if you were... I mean, yeah, grabbing the shield belt and flat cannon combo was like, you know... You definitely wanted to be doing that if you wanted to live for long. And then you come into the flag room, which is, yeah, just completely different. There's a substantial slime moat kind of thing that you don't want to fall into. The flag is just kind of in the middle of that, so you're very susceptible to splash damage as you're coming in. So that was kind of interesting. And then there's this whole back part that... is very easy access from the flag, but has, yeah, it's got armor and the keg of health. So even, I mean, this is sort of analogous to, let me think, like, yeah, and like I think there was some, I remember just doing some really dastardly, like, yeah, I remember hiding in the enemy flag room back here. Could do that. And then as a defender, I remember it being a pretty good option to like get up here. Yeah, like your line of sight was relatively, you know, your lines of fire were interrupted, but yeah, you could be a pretty jerky defender. You know, just coming in here, you know. Yeah, so just like all these little nooks and crannies. Yeah, and you could hide back here. That's something that like I'm not plugged into multiplayer level design enough these days to and then of course, yeah, you could you know, you could do that and get down there without taking any fall damage. I'm not plugged into multiplayer level design enough to really know if those kinds of like weird little hiding spots, or like even what's the tactical advantage of hiding nowadays. Like, is it just strictly boring because it slows down the match and or you get killed by people you can't see or something? I don't know. Like it was really interesting to me, you know, just as a player back in the day. Cool. Let me catch up on the chat here. How well did these asymmetrical designs actually work in practice? You know, it's hard to say because we weren't playing competitively. We were just pubbing, you know. And so we would just show up and the team would be just full of people just, you know, and this was also before voice chat, so I don't know, in the conduct of people, I mean, people would get, you know, people would be jerks sometimes, but like it was relatively civil. I mean, it was more just focused on the game, but so I don't know. I mean, it's possible that the balance for these maps is all just really crap, and that, you know, we didn't notice because we were having fun steamrolling people with our teamwork advantage. So I can't say, but I mean, November was pretty beloved among just, you know, you would see it on a lot of pub servers and stuff, and I think they made sequels in later, like UT 2003 or 4 or something, had CTF December, I think. So, yeah. But yeah, CTF November. Classic. Alright, let's move on. Noxian base, I don't remember this one. Must have been an expansion. Nucleus, same deal. Orbital, I played a little bit of. It was, I think this might have been expansion pack 1 or something. Another really large player count. I think they realized that, like, you know, people were going big on servers. They were like, yeah, a lot of people have the bandwidth for 32-person servers, so let's make more maps that support that for this bonus pack. But yeah, this is like a big... I do like the space architecture style of it. Like, it's very... You know, this is like very Spartan, but it feels cool. You know, it's got like a good mix of like straight lines and curves and stuff. Just taking that CTF face skybox because it looks awesome. And yeah, this flag area is cool. You know, it's like very, very open, very defensible. But this one, I remember really having to use teamwork because, like, you know, you were very, very exposed running around like this. And so yeah, like having buddies with you who could watch your back and provide covering fire and just, you know, pick up the flag if you died. That was really important. But yeah. And yeah, I like the glass floors. That's something, you know, if we actually are ever able to build ridiculous structures like this in space someday, have some glass floors because it's really cool to look down and see the Earth going by. Yeah, wow, and multiple levels. Yeah, I guess the Deemer's up on this high platform here. The Deemer. And yeah, you could do this with it. It's just such a ridiculous thing to do. Yeah, and then you're like, okay, screw the flag. Screw everybody defending that flag. Alright. Ratchet. Don't recognize that one. Oh, and have we reached the end? Yeah, so I installed this mod like that somebody made a long time ago where they basically like imported all of the level design, like all of the levels from the first Ultima Underworld, I believe. So yeah, this is an Ultima Underworld thing that, you know, is a CTF map. Actually, hold on. I think my doorbell just rang. I'll be right back. Sorry. Hello, it's all good. Yeah, so unfortunately, I think that is all of the CTF maps that I have to go over. Let me open up just something. Let me open up just like a. Oh yeah, actually, we'll close with. Cool. We'll close with the Unreal Tournament map that I actually did release. DM Screaming Void. This yeah, so this is a DM map. This is actually based off of, this is a reinterpreted version of my high school building. I first built this in the Doom engine like way back in the day, and then I built it in Quake, and then I built it in Half-Life. There was just something about this space, like it's very it's mostly unrecognizable now, but I wanted to, I don't know, yeah, like, I should probably do a whole other stream where I talk about the different versions of this space that I've built across all these different games over the years, because it's sort of a, it's a big weird thing. Yeah, and actually, I think I'll probably just stream this some other time, but, yeah, this was, I think I made this after we shipped Rune Halls of Valhalla. So I was an experienced Unreal Engine designer at that point. I was all about throwing in all kinds of cool eye candy. I wanted to make a jump pad that worked better. I wanted to have a cool teleporter. It's just like me throwing in like all the stuff that I wanted. I wanted to have like the Starfield hyperspace kind of like, you know, outside situation. I don't know. Yeah. So yeah, this is a map that I made. So yeah, oh right, and then you can actually open up the Screaming Void. This is where it gets its name from. Yeah, so it's like just like this big trap in the middle of the map, and I think it closes back up after a while. Or no, maybe you can just leave it open So then you just have a giant death pit in the middle, which is hilarious. So yeah, that's probably a good time to end it. And yeah, I will come back to this space and all the other weird incarnations of it. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. Yeah, it's been, this was a cool spur of the moment thing. Thanks for listening to me blab. I will have something to show off from my still unannounced project like very soon, hopefully within the next few days. So look for that from me. Thank you as always to my supporters on Patreon. I really appreciate your support, and it has been especially great as I'm about to announce this thing that I've been working on. That's really cool. In the meantime, here's some Unreal Tournament stuff. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Have a good day.